Access Tech Live. Live from Vienna, Austria. For the ZeroProject Conference. With Stephen Scott and Mark Aflalo. The latest in tech and accessibility. Follow us now and get involved at Access Tech Live.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Access Tech Live. We are live from the ZeroProject Conference in Vienna. I am Stephen Scott. Mark Aflalo is literally by my side. How are you, Mark?
I'm doing really good, just like live TV should be. We're getting everything set up here. The ZeroProject Conference for today is actually wrapping up. It's really quiet in this convention center. Stephen, we're set up in this beautiful United Nations building in the heart of Vienna. There's a beautiful Access Tech Live banner behind us. We've got lights, we've got cameras. Our guest is standing by to come on with us. It's a lot of fun. It's a busy day, a lot of work, and no sweats involved whatsoever, I promise.
No, none at all. And thank goodness for makeup. Do you know, before this show, Mark actually applied makeup to me. I think first time you've always wanted to do this.
I did. Well, no, I did it once before at our town hall.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. We did do that. You know what? This is a great event. And just to put you in the picture here, of course, it's just gone 6 p.m. here in Vienna. Of course, noon Eastern, when we're broadcasting to you live on AMI TV and on AMI Audio as well. Yes. So hello to everyone listening on AMI Audio. Hello. I don't know why we're waving, right? It's the radio.
I know. I don't want to do that.
But yeah, it kind of worked. Yeah, we're here today. We are, of course, so excited because this is an amazing event. It's a great opportunity to learn about the work that's being done around the world. And that's really important, around the world, to promote what is going on around accessibility. Now, of course, from our point of view, around tech as well. And Mark, we have a great guest.
We do. Caroline Casey, you're the founder of the Valuable 500. Yeah. You're joining us now here on Access Tech Live. But when it comes to this event, the ZeroProject Conference, you're like the maitre d', like the master of ceremonies for everything that goes on. Is this something that you volunteer? Oh my God! Troublemaker. Did you volunteer for this, or is this something that was asked upon you?
From the very first ZeroProject Conference, which was, gosh, many years ago, I think it's 13 years ago, they asked me to come in and they didn't kick me out.
What?
They keep having me back.
Oh my Lord. Well,
you know. Extraordinary with my crazy suits.
Do you come back or do they ask you back?
Thanks for that.
I thought we'd start off as we mean to go.
No, they do ask me back. And it's like coming back into a family, a global family, as you mentioned. Yeah, I think it's nearly like every year I come here, it's like a kind of a hole in the ground to see how things have changed. You know, over 13 years, what has been achieved within the Zero Conference, that's not, let alone what's been achieved in the world outside it, and how change is accelerating at such speed, particularly for what you guys are passionate about, which is tech. It's the thing I'm terrified of because I'm really bad at it. But yeah, I love it. I actually love being here. It's great. It's like my big family.
Tell us about the Valuable 500 a bit, because you got to plug yourself a little bit here. Tell us about the journey that led you to found the Valuable 500 and the significance of that organization, because it's such a global initiative that is just amazing.
Well, how it happened was blood, sweat, tears, and an awful lot of troublemaking. When we came up with the concept of it, first of all, it was to break the CEO's silence in the private sector on disability inclusion. So really, for a long time, I'm nearly 25 years a disability activist. The role that we play is we believe unless business is meaningfully at the table, there's no chance we're going to end global exclusion of people with disabilities and their families. Business needs to be at the table. What business values, society will follow and value. But how can you make the business system value if the very top of the business knows nothing about the value that disability brings? So not one CEO can do it, not one company can do it. So let's go for 500. So we want to make a noise, and I believe in the power of collective. Let's get 500 of the biggest companies in the world with their CEOs to commit at leadership and board level and executive level to scaling change and being accountable for it. So that was the idea. It was born out of real frustration. And I'm really proud of what we achieved, because we launched it at the World Economic Forum, the main stage in Davos. And within 2 years and 4 months, we had built the biggest CEO collective in the world after UN Global Compact. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like we're 22 million employees, 23 trillion in market cap with 64 sectors. It's global. these companies come from all over the world. So what can we do with that? What can you do? It's like the multiplier effect of bringing companies together to do the same thing with the same level of commitment. And then we have a chance, I hope, to see change.
From that initial announcement on stage about the Valuable 500 in Davos to now, what's the reaction from CEOs? What was that initial reaction like compared to, say, today? Is it similar when you walk into a company, when you talk to a CEO about inclusion, about accessibility? Do you get the same response?
Things have changed. There's no doubt things have changed. Look, when you have the Valuable 500, so you've proven something is possible. So now the doors are a little bit more open, And one of the things that people ask for, how did you make it happen? Because it had to be the CEO that had to be responsible for it and to sign and give their photograph so that we could hold everybody to account, including ourselves, by the way. And I would say not one CEO said no to our face. It seems to be in the middle of the business, that is the fear of getting it wrong or the fear of not understanding where is that value coming from. Is it too complex? Is it too complicated? Is it too cost effective? Or mostly fear of just not knowing what to do in a sustainable and meaningful way, and that it isn't some like purple washing. And now I think because you see more CEOs speaking about it, then you're giving permission to more CEOs to talk about it. And I think I love the fact now that I can say, well, why aren't you in the Valuable 500? 500 are. So there's a kind of a curiosity to why now. So we get in the doors, and there's some phenomenal CEOs and phenomenal companies.
You talk about some of that fear, and I'm wondering isn't the purpose a little bit of the Valuable 500 to help alleviate those fears so that other people can talk to other CEOs and other organizations and realize, wait a second, there is value here and there's ways that we can do this and not have to be scared about it.
Totally. I think when we launched it, a man called Peter Grauer, who's the chair of Bloomberg. So we had 5 CEOs on that main stage. And on day one, we had signed up 10 companies. But Peter Grauer was a marvel, honestly, because he was saying, look, I'm very proud of some of the initiatives that we have done around diversity, equity, and inclusion. But actually, I don't know what we've done around disability. And I'll be really honest, I don't even know where to begin.
That's powerful.
And that moment when a CEO of that ilk, in that way, on a platform that was so visible, was willing to admit, I don't know. But what he said is, but I want to know. And I choose to join the Valuable 500 to learn and understand. And I think that, to me, will always remain one of those great moments when somebody says, actually, I don't know, but I know I need to do better and I will do better. So that was a real mic drop. Yeah. And I think that's where we see the permission and the curiosity and the intention of other leaders.
When does it become the Valuable 1,000? 5,000?
Yeah, well,
10,000?
So the most important thing that ever made any of this work was Paul Poman, who was the CEO of He was our very first, right? And he's our chairman. And he said to me, I want Valuable 5,000. And I was like, excuse me, are you serious? You got to remember, after it's done, it always seems easy. It wasn't easy. I do want to remind people that we talked to 2,000 companies before we got 500. Yeah. There's over how many? 163 million companies in the world. So what we say is we reach that critical mass. We are well over 500. And so we want to have every company in the world be part of it. Of course we do. But the point was to be made, we need 500 of the most powerful to make it possible, to role model, to share with each other. Because that's the thing, is that they don't all need to start again. They can share their failures, their successes, their unknowns, and you're in it together. So it's that multiplier of effect and belonging and being part of something. That's the thing. So it won't be actually the Valuable 5,000, because then why won't it be the Valuable 5 million? But it will be about increasing that collective and using that 500 to be a ripple effect right out through the business ecosystem. And we use this beautiful sort of metaphor about, murmurations when starlings fly in the sky. Do you know when you see starlings fly? It's everybody's doing their own individual journey, but doing it together. And that's when unstoppable transformation can occur. So yes, I hope every company in the world eventually.
What do you think are some of the challenges that we're probably discussing, obviously here at ZeroProject Conference, but in the disability community or even just awareness worldwide? What are the biggest challenges that we're facing today that we're trying to overcome that aren't yet?
Yeah, I mean, we could be here forever, couldn't we?
We've got about 4 or 5 more minutes.
Yeah. Well, first of all, the word disability is a tiny word that is trying to represent so many different experiences. Okay. So I'm registered blind. I'm legally blind. And then people go, but you don't look blind. So even understanding what the spectrum of low vision and sight loss and blind loss is, that in itself. So still the understanding. And I love the brave people who put up their hand and go, so what do you mean by disability, right? So that is the first big piece. I truly believe there are 3 big issues that if we can really change, and that's what we're getting our valuable 500 companies to do now, is we need to see disabled talent in the leadership of tomorrow. I mean, and not being there just for disability, but about leading companies, right? That's number 1. And how do we do that and support those leaders? It being into the positions of influence tomorrow. The second is we have very few companies reporting on disability performance. So without data and without harmonized data, what are we going to do with this? So another big challenge to our community is to say to them, we want you to report on 5 harmonized metrics, put them in your annual report. And even if the data isn't good, just put it in so we know, so that we can do something with that. Can you imagine what that does? That proves the materiality of disability to business. And the last is representation. Seriously, we have got to improve authentic, real, accessible representation of people with disability in advertising, in media, in external communications of companies, as well as their internal communications. So if we got those 3 things, and that's what the Valuable 500 are doing, through a synchronized collective action, we're getting our companies to work the same thing, the same time, the same way, with a deadline. And we're calling our deadline Sync 25, which will be on the 3rd of December, 2025. They have to turn up and tell us what they've done. So accountability, those 3 system change barriers that I believe, and then being willing as leaders to have uncomfortable conversations about what you don't know. I think that's, for me, where we see it.
And that's ultimately what ZeroProject is all about, isn't it? That's what it's about here, is that accountability, where people come together, they get a chance to share, they get a chance to ask questions, and be brave, ask those questions, and meet disabled people. This is one of the few conferences, I was mentioning this to someone else today, it's one of the few conferences I've been at around disability that there are so many disabled people in the room. That matters.
That matters. And so somebody said to me, this is a very disability conference, meaning I can feel, see, talk with, be around my peers who live and experience disability every day and are working, all of them working, whether it's in business, whether it's in a not-for-profit, whether it's in policies, practices, innovations. Here we're seeing not only the innovators, but the lives that are affecting. And that's powerful because that's real. Because that expression that we know and that statement, nothing about us without us, it's like nothing without us. We're here, right? And we're here, but we're here trying to share and learn together, not making an enemy out of somebody that doesn't know, but bring them in and say, let's learn together. Let me learn your experience or what you don't understand. So help me help you.
Caroline, how can people follow exactly what you're doing? And are we getting an invitation to the summit in Tokyo? That's in.
I'm just saying, just listening to the 2 of you, will you come to Sync 25 and will you report for us from Sync 25?
Andy, Frank, somebody, anybody?
Anyone?
agree
Who pays the bills?
They've all disappeared.
I mean, we can't really even see it.
We can't even see if they're here. Exactly.
Pure comedy. We might have to do better makeup. I'm currently wearing a gingham green suit and purple shoes, but yes, the best way to get in touch is through the Valuable 500 website. I'm rubbish on social media, I will say that, but I'm very easy to find. Caroline Casey's, there's 3 of them. There's an astrologer, Caroline Casey. There's a footballer, Caroline Casey, and then there's Caroline Casey, the troublemaker. So yes, I respond as much as I can to everything.
Thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for being here.
When we come back after a quick break here at Access Tech Live, making communication more accessible. We're live in Vienna. Join us in just a couple moments.
There's more Access Tech Live to come. Get involved and have your say at Access Tech Live on social media. We'll be right back. Access Tech Live is in a commercial break. Access Tech Live will return in less than 2 minutes. Access Tech Live is in a commercial break. The show will return in less than a minute. Access Tech Live will be back in 30 seconds. Now, back to Access Tech Live, the latest in tech and accessibility. From the ZeroProject Conference in Vienna, back to Stephen Scott and Mark Aflalo.
Welcome back. We are live from the ZeroProject Conference here in Vienna. It is just after 6 p.m. here in Vienna. We're here for one of two special episodes this week. I'm Stephen Scott. Mark Aflalo is with me, and we're having fun.
I'm with you. Honestly, it's just different being in an environment.
Yeah.
We do this separately for you guys who are not paying attention. We are normally separate by many, many miles. Me in Montreal, Stephen in Glasgow, and now I've come to his side of the ocean just for a couple of days to entertain ourselves, I think.
Yeah, it's
and
very
look for
nice.
KFC in different countries, right?
Oh, that's the best bit, isn't it?
Caroline Casey, kick off the show, Stephen. I'm very excited to welcome our next guest. Tomer Aharoni is a co-founder of and CEO of a company called Nagish. Give us the background of Nagish, because you have just launched a new product called Live Transcribe, but I want to hear the background of the company before we get to what you're talking about today.
Absolutely. So Nagish means accessible in Hebrew, and that's exactly what we're doing. We're making communication accessible for deaf and hard of hearing people. We started Nagish not as a company. It started as a side project. I'm originally an engineer. I don't code that much anymore. Alon, my co-founder, is also an engineer. He codes a lot these days. We built a side project after learning that deaf and hard of hearing people cannot communicate without relying on an interpreter or a stenographer. We thought it was insane that phone calls are not private for deaf and hard of hearing people, and we wanted to solve it. The first thing we did, we approached the deaf community, and we asked people in the community, what do you need? What can we build for you? We built a proof of concept relatively quickly. Google picked up on it, so they wrote a case study about us. We were students back then. Complete side project. Alon had a full-time job. The case study evolved into an ad for Google Cloud.
Okay.
And then we were invited to speak. Next thing we know, we are speaking in Google Cloud Next, which is their conference where 50,000 people are coming there every year. And it gained a lot of traction through it. A bunch of deaf and hard of hearing people started reaching out that they wanted access to the service. The service was really just a proof of concept. And we were pulled into building more and more, working over the weekends, working nights, trying to keep up with demand. And then COVID happened. When COVID happened, especially deaf people, they found themselves in a dual isolation. They were isolated like all of us, but they were also isolated from media, from crucial communication, from being able to communicate at hospitals. And we were in Israel at the time. I'm originally Israeli, living in New York. Hundreds of people reached out, and we realized that we have to build something for them. We made a proof of concept, an app. Hundreds of people signed up. We've been growing since then. We've been doing it part-time for as much as we could until one day we decided, let's make the leap. We left our jobs and made it a company.
So talk me through this then. What's the experience like for someone using this app?
Yeah. So we took the native phone app experience and tried to mimic it as much as possible. So when you use Nagish, it looks and feels exactly like the native phone app. It actually replaces the phone app on your device. So you have the dialer, you have your contacts, favorites, everything is exactly the same. The only difference is when you call someone, you see a screen where you can read captions. So you don't have to hear the call, you can read the call. Same for your voice. You can communicate using your voice if you feel comfortable, or you can type on the keyboard. Behind the scenes, we convert text to speech and speech to text in real time. We found a really accurate way of doing that with basically no latency. Of course, there is some sort of latency, but you barely feel it. And it's a private communication method, completely free, completely private.
It's absolutely amazing, and I think there are companies out there that are probably trying to copy you, some more recently than others. Tell us about what you're launching, or what you just launched a couple of weeks ago, which is Live Transcribe.
Yes,
because it's a bit different and it enhances more than just the phone experience. It's about environments.
Exactly. So Live Transcribe, really, we didn't invent the wheel there. It's nothing new. Live Transcribe technology has been around for a while. But we've seen that we have so many users using our services on a daily basis, and we could offer them one additional service at the same place. So instead of needing to use one app for Live Transcribe and one app for phone calls, you get all your transcripts in the same place. We are certified by the FCC, meaning that all of our transcripts are completely private. We don't store anything. We don't access your data, not even for training purposes. This is true for phone calls, but we decided to take the same approach for Nagish Live Transcribe. So everything is private, takes place on device, and users know that they can trust us.
And it's free, right?
Completely free.
See, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. But I got to say, picking up on Mark's question or point, I guess, about what's already out there and what's coming out at the moment. I mean, let's just talk about the elephants in the room. Apple and Google are developing this kind of hardware and software into their technologies. The question is, how does your app and the work you do compare?
Absolutely. So first of all, with all the respect to Apple and Google, they're doing an amazing job in progressing accessibility all around. Eventually, when they build something like that, it's in most cases a Band-Aid. It helps to some extent, but it doesn't solve the problem for 98% of the market. We provide way more than just captioning. Captioning is just one tool that we offer, but we have what we call the Nagish AI layer. So for instance, we're telling you if you're currently talking to a human or to a machine, if there's music playing, if you're put on hold. These are all things that hearing people take for granted, but deaf people don't necessarily understand. We've had people reaching out to us with a screenshot telling us, hey, your caption stopped working. I look at a screenshot, and as a hearing person, it's clear to me that they were put on hold. They were talking to a person 1 minute, the next minute, they tell them, hold on for a second. They're on hold right now. They think the captioning is not working. Nagish AI solved exactly that. I don't believe that Google and Apple, I wish they would, but I don't believe they're going to change their native dialers to include all these added functionalities for the 98% of people that need more than just captioning.
So it's about the nuance for you, but I guess to go a little bit further than that then, okay, so let's look past Google and Apple. Let's look at anybody these days who has access to all the AI that is out there. Is that a competition that's waiting to happen? No?
I don't think so. So one of the biggest issues with AI is privacy. That's why we went the regulatory way. We got certified by the FCC. It took us more than 2 years to get this certification. We had to prove that we are private by design.
They didn't cook this up in a basement somewhere. Yeah.
So the goal here is to really offer people a service that has complete equivalency to a regular phone call. So just like hearing people trust our phone calls, we provide you a service that you can trust. You can call any number in the world. You can receive calls from any number in the world on your existing phone number. And it's captioned. And you know that it's fully private. You know that it will always be the most accurate solution out there. We're marginally better because we also use existing engines like Google and Microsoft, but we found a way to slightly improve them. So that's how we look at it.
How does an event like the ZeroProject Conference affect you, and what's important about it for you as a company?
For us, we love getting together, one, with our users. We get together with our users on a monthly basis, but also with the larger accessibility community. We attend events almost every month in the US, and getting together with the global community is an aspect that I personally enjoy. So we came here last year for the first time. This year we won the ZeroProject Award. It's been super exciting seeing the familiar faces and new faces, and I just can't wait to come back next year.
Well, we look forward to hopefully seeing you next year.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us. If people want to find out more about you, where can they download the app? Where can they find out more about it?
So the app is currently available in the US and Canada. We also made it available in Israel after what happened in October. Nagish.com, that's Nagish.com, means accessible in Hebrew.
Tomer, thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
Thank you for having me.
Stephen, when we come back, we're going to go to India kind of virtually. Our next guest is going to talk to us all about how they empower people in India with accessibility and disabilities. That's kind of cool. Join us in just a couple of moments here on Access Tech Live.
There's more Access Tech Live to come. Get involved and have your say at Access Tech Live on social media. We'll be right back. Access Tech Live will return in less than 2 minutes. Access Tech Live is in a commercial break. Access Tech Live will return in less than 2 minutes. Access Tech Live is in a commercial break. The show will return in less than a minute. Access Tech Live will be back in 30 seconds. Access Tech Live, the latest in tech and accessibility. From the ZeroProject Conference in Vienna, back to Stephen Scott and Mark Aflalo.
Welcome back. This is Access Tech Live. We are here live at the ZeroProject Conference in Vienna. We're having fun today, and we're getting a chance to meet some great people.
We are.
And you know what? We're virtually going to India.
We're going to virtually go to India.
I kind of would have liked that trip, actually, if we could have arranged that.
Part of doing a global conference means that I'm going to encounter names that I'm going to absolutely butcher. So my apologies in advance to our next guest. His name is, I'm reading this guy, sorry, Sayomdeb Mukherjee. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Correct.
From Enable India, the senior manager. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Tell us, what brings you to Zero Conference?
You fell over that?
Oh my God.
Really? You fell over that?
The ZeroProject Conference.
The difficult thing he got over, he forgot the easier thing.
Yeah, thank you. I know. We'll get there. Tell us about Enable India. What do you do as a mission?
Yeah. Enable India works for economic empowerment and dignity for people with disabilities. Since 1999, we started our journey, and we are pioneering organization for people with disability for having employment in various job roles, including corporate sectors and other various places, because we found that only with the government intervention, it won't work. Unless we open up the full economy for people with disabilities and place them with quality training and preparation, it won't work out. So till now, in the last 25 years, we have placed over 60,000 people in various corporate places, and we have touched more than 2 million people. Yes.
Yeah. So, are you just to sort of dig into that a little bit? Are you suggesting that it's important that the government takes people on for roles, or is it that it's government regulation to encourage businesses to employ more disabled people?
Nothing. Actually, the work that we do is that people with disabilities, provide them with good and outstanding professional support training, open up job roles for people with disabilities in various companies which are non-governmental, and place them in those companies. And the placement has its own value, because when you are economically viable as a person with disabilities, your social status increases. So just economic empowerment brings dignity to people with disability.
What is the landscape like in India for people with disabilities? We talk about, you look at Canada, for example, where there's more and more acknowledgement and more support. Is it the same system there? Is it better? Do you find it, how do you compare it to the rest of the world?
So I'll not compare it to the rest of the world, because apple and oranges cannot be compared. So I'll just compare in my lifetime of 4 decades, the change that I have experienced. I'm only 25 after this statement also, but I am born in 1980, but I'm still now I'm 25.
Okay.
So that should be kept in mind.
Understood.
Okay. So in 1980s, people like me was not even in the frame, because we were absolutely ignored. And without a supportive family, there was no ecosystem at all. So when you make an ecosystem, for example, when you plant a sapling in a very dry vegetation, you need to prepare that, right? So that preparation also was not there in the first decade. Second decade, I realized that when I was growing up in my adolescence and all, I realized that that ecosystem, that making of the soil was happening. Certain things were coming up. Certain stories were coming up. Motivation was there. Stories were being made. In the new millennium, with the effect of globalization, there was a paradigm shift. More information got exchanged between other countries, and Indian disability movement gathered a huge amount of momentum. After UNCRPD, in which India was one of the top signatories, we started working to frame a new disability law. I was very fortunate, blessed by the God. I was a small bit of factor of contribution in there. That law brought huge amount of change in the next decade, the third decade. And then after that, our perception started to change, because our government started to speak about disability. Because when your prime minister speaks about disability, the population listens.
Yeah.
And that made the change that is needed. But I would say that is a long way to go. I keep on comparing one thing, that is women's liberation movement started 200 years back. Disabilities movement is only 40 to 50 years old. It has to be an evolutionary pattern that we need to follow, because in the world, there is no revolution that has been successful.
Yeah.
We need to have patience as the first generation of people with disabilities to pave the path for our next generation.
Enable India, if people want to follow your movement and what you're doing, where can they find you?
www.enableindia.org.
Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. It's so nice to meet you, and congratulations on all the work and achievement that you've done.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Stephen.
It's my privilege.
another great person to meet here in Vienna, which is absolutely amazing. Yeah. And we're, 1 hour show, but we have to move on. So we're going to take a quick break and come back with a very cool company called AtScale when we come back here on Access Tech Live from Vienna, the ZeroProject Conference. Be back.
There's more Access Tech Live to come. Get involved and have your say at Access Tech Live on social media. We'll be right back. Access Tech Live will return in less than 2 minutes. Access Tech Live is in a commercial break. Access Tech Live will return in less than 2 minutes. Access Tech Live is in a commercial break. The show will return in less than a minute. Access Tech Live will be back in 30 seconds. Now, back to Access Tech Live, the latest in tech and accessibility. From the ZeroProject Conference in Vienna, back to Stephen Scott and Mark Aflalo.
Welcome back to the ZeroProject Conference in Vienna. We're live here on Access Tech Live. And, it's been such an interesting conference because we get to meet so many interesting people. Just that last conversation there, just really insightful. And these are conversations that you just don't get the chance to have anywhere else.
No, that's why we're here, Stephen.
Exactly.
There's a reason that we're in Vienna. Yeah. I'm pleased to welcome our next guest, and I promise I'm not going to mess people's names up, but I'm going to try not to. Pascal Vijleveld, CEO, not bad. Okay, CEO of AtScale. Okay, AtScale is described as a global partnership for assistive technologies. Explain that to me. I gotta understand this a bit more.
Right. Okay. Well, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure. So first of all, we're not a company. We're a nonprofit.
Okay.
We're actually based in the United Nations. We're a global partnership, which means we bring together a range of stakeholders that are essential to our mission, which is really to help increase access to assistive technology in low and middle income countries. Today, barely 10% people who need assistive technology have access to it in lower income countries, which is truly shocking, right? And so we're trying to change that paradigm, and we can only do it through a collective effort, hence the partnership, which brings together governments, civil society, OPDs, UN agencies, private sector, et cetera.
So what is the picture at the moment? I mean, I know we talk about this on a scale usually, and this is again why ZeroProject is so important. We get to talk on an international scale as opposed to just from the US, right, just from the UK, Canada, whatever. What is the scale internationally in regards to accessing technology by disabled people?
So we estimate that 2.5 billion people in the world need one form of assistive technology or another. Now, that's not only people who identify themselves as living with disability. It's also the elderly, it's war victims. It could be just simply a child who can't go to school because he or she doesn't have eyeglasses, right? That's 2.5 billion people. That's a third of the world's population. And like I said, barely 10% of people have access to it in low and middle income countries. In high income countries, even though it's not perfect, far from it, and I'm sure you're all well aware of that, still access is around 80% on average. So it's that inequity that we're really trying to address.
How do you bring together the right people and advocate over such I mean, all the people that need to be involved to make something like this happen? It's an immense weight on anybody's shoulders, let alone an organization like this. How do you manage it? How do you deal with it day to day? What do you do?
So what we do very practically is we raise resources, first of all, right? Because you need money to change things. Not only money, but that is an important part. And we need flexible money, right? Money oftentimes in this space tends to be very directed and siloed and fragmented, which makes it harder to really bring impact and have systemic change. So we raise flexible resources that we pool together. And then we use that to partner with governments in low-income countries, help them develop a national plan if they don't have one, or identify priorities within an existing plan, and then support that financially alongside them, right? So there's a co-financing element, right? So it's to really get governments in those countries to step up, because too oftentimes they're not living up to their responsibilities in the space. That's one. The other thing is we're looking at the global level and what are some guidelines, trainings, normative kind of work, product specifications, essential assistive product lists that need to be put together that will help countries that want to scale up their programs do it better. The other thing related to that is engaging with the industry. So we're talking to 80 manufacturers, to innovators and others to try to see if we can't find ways to secure better access deals. For example, by having tiered pricing, a differentiated price for high-income countries and low-income countries, and those kinds of things. And last but not least, we're active to try to raise more awareness and advocate for more financing and political support for assistive technology in those parts of the world. And we've just launched a global campaign called Unlock the Everyday in Davos last month.
Yes, absolutely. A fantastic initiative, which is, of course, at the heart of all of this. But it's interesting to me because it seems when I think about accessing assistive technology, I think about braille displays for blind children, I think about hearing aids for deaf children or for deaf adults. It seems to me that there are some really easy wins in all of this. You mentioned eyeglasses.
Yeah.
And yet there are so many people who go without.
Yeah, that's right. Eyeglasses is one. It's not that easy, unfortunately. Like, you have very low cost eyeglasses now available, as cheap as $3 for a pair. The challenge there is there's not enough professionals in those countries outside of the urban areas that can prescribe the eyeglasses and fit them and so on and so forth. So there's a human resource problem in that regard. But another easy one is what I have in my hand, smartphones.
Yeah.
Right? That is one of the most common forms of assistive technology today, and it's replacing other bespoke assistive technology, thereby also reducing the cost to access. And in fact, one of the reasons why we're here this week is tomorrow we have a session with Google and a GDI Hub, the Global Disability Innovation Hub. We're partnering together, the three of us, doing a large-scale study around the use of smartphones and how that can change someone's life who's visually or has a hearing impairment. And we're doing that from our perspective to generate evidence to inform policy so that smartphones can be recognized as assistive technology, because in most countries it's not.
Yeah, and it should be. Absolutely should be.
Yeah, but I mean, there's politics at play here as well, right? Per country, you're dealing with the politics of a country. And some countries that may not even have a functioning government. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, one step at a time, right? But it is why we were set up. And it's one of the reasons why we're actually based in the United Nations. It opens the doors and gives us access to governments because without them, there is no sustainable access to AT. And so, we're trying to work with all countries, the lowest income countries that are in conflict and others. And so the stakeholders may differ, but it is a long journey, right? There's no doubt about it. So the first step is to raise awareness, because even that is missing sometimes, right? Governments may not even realize, even ministers of health or social welfare or of education do not realize the difference that assistive technology can make. They don't budget for it. They don't think about it, right? So that's the first step. Then you've got to talk to ministries of finance, treasury, because it needs to be budgeted for. It needs to be planned for, right? And there it's about making the case that actually it's a smart thing to do. It's not a cost to the countries. There's actually a return on investment, right? And we estimate that for every $9, for every dollar, sorry, that you invest in assistive technology, there's a $9 return to the country's economy because of better education outcomes, better employment opportunities, longer productivity of employed people, and so on and so forth.
But they say the same in some countries with assistive technology programs in employment. That $1 in can be $1.50 out, you know, and so on, right?
Right. So we're trying to, you know, use all the levers we can and appeal, depending on who we're talking to. You know, there are different things that, you know, there's the moral imperative that is essential, but then there's the economic rationale that is also as important to change things.
How do you measure success at the end of the day? Because I can't imagine that's easy.
No, we have a bold goal. We are trying to make sure that 500 million people are reached by 2030.
Oh.
Right. So that's probably would mean half of the unmet need would be reached by 2030. Now, we're not saying that we can do that alone, but we're trying to be a catalyst towards that change. And then we've got milestones in between. We're looking at changes in the systems. Are new policies being adopted? Is financing increasing? How many people are trained? You know, and then also, you know, how many people are we actually reaching with these products? And so we've got now monitoring systems in place through our partners in country to capture that information.
Amazing. Pascal, thank you so much for sharing the story. Let us know how we can help, because we're here to hopefully share your story and get the word out and learn more about what you're doing. And I'm curious to hear about the relationship with Google and the GDI as well.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a work in progress, and it's a great partnership. And we've already got some first results from that study, which we'll be sharing tomorrow. And it just really changes people's lives. This simple smartphone.
Before I let you go, I got to ask you a question, which is, you know, what does the ZeroProject Conference mean to you? How does it, you know, impact
It's
you?
a critical conference in this space because it brings together so many different actors that are critical to the agenda that we care about. And so both attending the sessions, but then having all of these side conversations and then networking is really what's key, because it's all about spreading that word. And you asked me what you could do, and it really is spreading the word, unlock the everyday. And we got to get more people behind this. We have to get more donors behind this. And hopefully Canada will be one of them.
Well, we're happy to do that for you. That's why we exist.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining us, and enjoy the rest of the conference. Stephen.
All right. Thank you.
We're going to take a quick break and come back and wrap things up here from day one in Vienna. Can you believe it? It's almost over.
I know.
Stick around. We'll be back in a moment.
There's more Access Tech Live to come. Get involved and have your say at Access Tech Live on social media. We'll be right back. Access Tech Live will return in less than 2 minutes. Access Tech Live is in a commercial break. Access Tech Live will return in less than 2 minutes. Access Tech Live is in a commercial break. The show will return in less than a minute. Access Tech Live will be back in 30 seconds. Now, back to Access Tech Live, the latest in tech and accessibility. From the ZeroProject Conference in Vienna, back to Stephen Scott and Mark Aflalo.
Hey, welcome back to the first of two specials. Yes, we're back again for another episode of Access Tech Live from the ZeroProject Conference here in Vienna tomorrow.
You forgot the name of the show there.
I was trying to remember the name of the conference and the name of the show all at the same time.
I think I've managed to mess it up enough for you today.
Thank you. But listen, we have been doing this here. We're not alone.
No, well, you know, if you're obviously pay attention to AMI Audio, which is being simulcast on today, Double Tap has been doing interviews throughout the entire day. We'll be doing that obviously for days to come. You can check out that on YouTube as well. Of course, we're going to be doing stuff behind the scenes here on Access Tech Live, thanks to, of course, Andy Frank, Mr. F, and of course, Grace Schofield and Sean Priest is somewhere in the corner there. I think he's fell asleep. Yeah, I think after a day like today, he may actually be asleep. So thank you to all those who are involved. Stephen, what does a conference like this mean to you? This is not your first time, it's your second time here.
Second time here. And, you know, it's such a great thing to come to because you get the chance to spend so much time around such positive people talking about solutions to problems. You know, one thing I cannot stand are moany people. And there are lots of moany people in the world, right? For good reason. Lots of people have good reasons to complain. But for me, I think what you've got to find at some point is a solution. And that's what ZeroProject offers. And it rewards solutions as well through the awardee program, which of course means that people who are here are awardees, people who've won the chance to come here. But there's a condition to that, and that is that they have to share their knowledge with others. So someone in Uganda can share what's going on in another part of the world and share that information. And this is what is brilliant about it. You get the chance to meet and talk to some amazing people, and you get the chance to share great stories with other disabled people. You know, my favorite thing about ZeroProject Conference is when you walk in and someone from Apple, Google, and Microsoft come up and say hello. And then they say to you, whatever you do, don't interview me.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my favorite thing.
This is not the time for that. Well, but you know what? It's actually, it's interesting you say that because they don't want the media attention. It's not about the media attention that they're here for. There is, honestly, if you walk around, there is very little other media here other than local Austrian media.
Which is interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it's super interesting. So companies like that aren't here about the spotlight. It's not about, oh, look at we're here, all the good we're doing. If you look at all the people who are here, all the people who are exhibiting, this is not a CES. This is not about making money and selling televisions or selling the next best who knows what. It's about making change and instilling change. And there are very few conferences, if any, that I can think of, whose mission is to do that.
Although
that's super impressive.
You say that, but actually there are some companies here exhibiting. We're going to be hearing from one tomorrow on the next episode. A little tease for you, because we're going to be hearing about a product. I'm going to get a chance to try this. This is apparently the replacement for the guide dog. Now, I've heard this before.
Yeah,
I've heard all this
about that before.
But you know what? This might be interesting because it's using VR. And guess what? Those other two letters we've fallen in love with, AI.
Oh, not a QR code. Okay.
No, not a QR. No.
And that company is Lumen, right?
That's Lumen, yeah.
Lumen, okay,
they were at CES as well, actually, and that was interesting. So they were at CES this year. They get the chance to show this product, and it got a lot of mainstream attention, which I often wonder what that means. But of course, what it does do is it leads to a lot of clickbait headlines like, it's the next guide dog. And it's like, yeah, let's see. So I'm going to try it out on air live tomorrow.
You're going to try it out on air live?
I'm going to try it live.
Oh, that's going to be interesting.
Is anyone back at the control room nervous yet?
They're currently sweating, but not as much as I was before the show started today. Yes, they are. They're telling me on the
okay, that's right.
There's still several more days of this conference. There are sessions going on. Yeah, I got to describe this for a second here, David, because this is not your typical, as I say, like CES type convention where there's all these exhibitors showing off what they're doing. This is about sessions where people are sitting down in closed rooms and having meaningful conversations about instilling change on a global scale. So there are companies from Canada, the US, you name the country, there is someone from, maybe there's a couple of countries that aren't allowed here anymore, but I mean, you name it, there is a representative of that country here. And we're trying to get a hold of at least someone from every country to have a conversation with them to find out what they do a little bit differently than we might do in Canada, because it's an opportunity for countries to learn from each other. Just like Pascal said, you know, you're or even, you know, Caroline at the beginning, having a group like the Valuable 500, for example, allows you to learn from each other, learn from the mistakes so you don't make the mistakes, maybe get ahead a little bit quicker than they were able to do before.
Well, we met a guy earlier, Jacob, from Estonia.
Yes.
And Estonia is doing amazing work in making its benefits system and its government services more accessible to disabled people. I mean, that is incredible, because in the country I live in, the UK, which you would think we would be ahead of the game on this stuff, it isn't. We still sign forms, we still have to send paper copies. That's still going on in countries like the UK. So that's, you know, this is improving around the world. Estonia is doing that. And what's great is that learning that Jacob is bringing here is being shared by the people. What I need to do is get someone from the UK government here in with Jacob in the room and get them sort of met up. It's a speed dating for business.
Well, I mean, they actually had that speed dating a couple of days ago too, which was pretty cool. But they're putting startups together with potential investors or resources, and there were a lot of really cool companies. I mean, we met at Den today. You know, he's on stage talking about his project. We're going to be talking to a company, as you said, tomorrow. Jacob from Sparrow Access. We're reaching out to companies like Nike who are here and trying to get them on as well. So we've got some more great content lined up for you for our next day from Vienna, which is tomorrow again at noon Eastern. Again, you can follow Double Tap right after that as well.
Right after this, on my audio.
This on my audio, if you're listening to that as well. It's so nice to be in person, by the way.
Totally, isn't it?
You smell way better in person than you do on TV.
Although I get told I have no smell at all, which I don't even know what that means.
Oh, Lord. Okay. On behalf of everybody who helped, of course, thank you for being with us today on the special. I hope you enjoyed it. Check us out on YouTube and all the interviews. And we'll be back to you again tomorrow for another special from the ZeroProject Conference in Vienna.
Thank you.
I got it out.
Thanks for tuning in to Access Tech Live. Follow us online on all social media at Access Tech Live. Email us feedback@accesstechlive.com. Hosted by Stephen Scott in Glasgow and Mark Aflalo in Montreal. Written by Stephen Scott and Mark Aflalo. Producer, Mark Aflalo. Live show director, Anastasia Spalding-Stenhouse. Technical director, Caitlin Robinson. Audio, Jordan Mulgrave. Live graphics and playback, Kingsley Juco. Graphics coordinator, Eliza Rocco. Integrated described video specialist, M. Williams. Supervising producer, Michelle Dudas. Produced in collaboration with Aflalo Communications Inc. and Double Tap Productions. Copyright 2024, Accessible Media Inc.
An AMI original production.